It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Hey, it's Jet the Gasman Dover, driver of the number 53 Home Pride Motorsports Sprint Car, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle, eco-friendly Honda engines just across the river in Council Bluffs at Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue, next to AMC 17 Theaters. I went and saw Deadpool there a couple nights ago. I'll give you a little recommendation. If you want to go see a good non-comic book movie, Deadpool is it. Do not take your child. This is the most non-comic book movie of all time. I mean, it is dirty. It is vulgar. And there was a family that walked out about 10 minutes into the movie, and I thought, well, that's what you get for bringing your kid to an R-rated movie.
Well, how did you get in?
I had my fake ID.
I thought your mom had to buy your ticket.
I call her my fake ID. We've got a huge show lined up for you today. I am Dan Taylor. That is Dirk Houston. As always, how you doing this morning, bud?
We're alive and well and enjoying the good weather every other day that it shows up.
Oh, my God. That was ridiculous. What it did on Tuesday was just cruel. It was like, hey, here's some nice sunny weather for the weekend. Oh, here's 20 degrees.
March 1st, in like a lion.
It was terrible, but luckily we're kind of warming up, and I think it's supposed to be 70 tomorrow, so I might actually be able to get on my bike and do a little exercise. But
well, I mean, outside of Tuesday, which was kind of an anomaly, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what to say. It just got cold all of a sudden, and then it warmed back up.
Every time it does that, my dad, when we were kids, and he was like, it'd be August, and we're going out for the first day of school, and he's like, make sure you have a stocking cap on, and I'm like, Dad, what do I need my stocking cap on? He's like, well, you never know when the Alberta Clipper is going to come down, and I always hated that. That was that saying that your dad always had, and oh my God, I hated that. And sure enough, on Tuesday, I'm sitting there going, it's the Alberta Clipper in there.
And now since we've got all the immigration things on, it's El Nino.
Yeah. That dang El Nino. That's if in case you didn't know, according to Chris Farley, that is Spanish for the Nino. So helping you out with that. I was in Mexico. I know that now.
All right.
Like I said, we got a big show lined up for you today. Tom Lathen is coming in today from the Nebraska Auto Racing Hall of Fame. Has a big event coming up at the end of March. We're going to talk to Tom about that in turn number 2. In turn number 3, we're going to have a rising star in the NASCAR world. We talked to him originally when he was down in Sprint Cars Racing World of Outlaws. Now he's a 2-time Chili Bowl champion. Now he was a K&M Pro, East Series racer last year. Now he's made his way up into the Camping World Truck Series. So maybe you can help him out with a couple of tips on how to get things by the tech officials.
Turn left and let the crew chief do that. Of course, that's all the crew chief's got to do anymore with that new 20-minute clock.
No, there's a lot more than that they got to do.
No, the car chief does the rest of it.
I think that 20-minute clock adds another factor because that comes into play of, well, can I make it to the end? Do I put in two tanks of fuel? Do I just do one? Is that clocking? It adds another factor to it.
That's the only time, though. The rest of the race, you're not going to go more than 20 minutes, so you don't have to worry about when you're going to pit. You don't worry anymore. Put it this way, Chad Knaus couldn't have won that race at Atlanta in the Truck Series the way he won it in the Cup Series because that strategy wouldn't have been available.
Well, but your strategy would have changed knowing that there was a clock. And Chad's smart enough that he to change his strategy up knowing that there would have been a clock.
Yeah, but he couldn't use the strategy that he used to win the race.
I think if there would have been a late race caution, well, there was a late race caution, and he still won it.
Well, exactly.
Wow.
But he wouldn't have had the lead if it wasn't for the other. The strategy he used pitting early. It was a great strategy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We saw that a couple of times. And man, that was crazy. They were talking about 2.5 second differences.
3 seconds a lap.
When you got a new set of tires.
I mean, Harvick carved him down to 6 seconds, and then it just stopped because they were equaled out.
Well, he killed his tires, and he was talking about that he burnt the right rear off trying to get to him, and he didn't save enough in the end. And you could see him those last couple of laps. His car was really waving up the track.
But he wouldn't have got there anyway. If he hadn't have driven hard, he wouldn't have got to where he did.
I tell you, I saw a lot of cars doing that wiggle a lot more than I've seen in years. And that's a direct reflection of the low downforce package.
That's the oldest surface.
Yeah.
Atlanta Motor Speedway.
19 years old, I believe.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that because there was rumors that them in Kentucky were going to repave in the offseason before the 2016 season, and Atlanta came out and said, we're not repaving. Drivers like the way this surface is. It's rough, it's rugged, it wears, it's a surface they love, and that's hard to find, quite frankly. If we could get that at Kansas, but it's hard to get that surface to do that, to wear that perfect way.
And if your boys over at Stewart Haas would have traded Kurt Busch's and Kevin Harvick's pit crews, Kurt Busch would have won that race.
I think so. Kurt had a great car.
Great car and no pit stops.
So Rico Abreu is going to join us in turn number 3. We're going to talk about his move into the Camping World Truck Series. We'll talk about his win down at the Chili Bowl again. We'll talk about a lot of different stuff. He's got some great stuff going on, and talented little driver over at Thor Sports Racing. Turn number 4, we will preview Las Vegas. So a lot of show to come. Let's talk about Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dirk, real quick, as I'm kind of pulling up these stats, what was your takeaway from that race?
As you and I discussed the other day, I did not like the new green-white checker rule. Now, like you said, they didn't throw the yellow until he crossed the white. Well, when you watch the race, and I watched the race, and I actually watched it again on Monday when I was at dialysis because it was the only thing on TV at 7 o'clock in the morning. But, when they get to the end, Johnson's leading, and he's got a couple car lengths. He's going to win the race. That's regardless.
Right.
I don't care if they go green for 2 laps or not. Johnson's winning.
Yeah.
The rest of the thing could have gone a lot different. But they said crash on the back stretch just as Johnson was entering turn 3. Any other race, any other time, they'd have been throwing the yellow at that time because there were a lot of cars involved.
Oh, absolutely.
But they waited until Johnson crossed the start-finish line, which by their new rule they didn't even have to do because he'd crossed that, what do they call it?
Restart line or overtime line.
Yeah, overtime line.
Yeah.
There you go. That was right in the middle of the back straightaway. So he was past that. So it was an official start. The next flag was going to end the race regardless. I like the exact attempt that they're trying to save cars and, the owner some money. I do like that part, believe me. But then they just ought to go back to finish it under yellow and be done with it.
Yeah. I don't know what the answer to it is because I want to see. We've seen it used once, basically.
Exactly.
So let's see how it kind of matures because, again, I've said this 100 times. The one thing I really like about NASCAR, and it seems to be a culture within the last 1.5 to 2 years, is that NASCAR is very willing to go to the drivers and say, okay, how did you guys feel that played out at Atlanta? Is there a way that you would like us to see it do it differently to where it kind of adds some excitement? Because NASCAR's got a delicate balance between giving the fans what they want, which is a finish we saw at Daytona. They want to see that every race.
Exactly.
And saving cars. And honestly, Daytona was a complete anomaly, especially at Daytona, to have that close of a finish and no torn up race cars was a real anomaly. We actually saw it the last weekend at Atlanta.
Yeah, now on NASCAR's behalf, the cars that caused the wreck and that were wrecking in the back were all cars that took the wave around there at the end. So they did not pit and did not have new tires. They had used tires, which was probably a big factor in the accident.
They said that on the Fox broadcast. They said a lot of those guys that were back there had old tires and
Fox got one right.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take? Was it 2 commercial breaks before they missed a lead change?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, and I don't know if anybody watched. I watched all the racing all weekend. I watched both the Xfinity and the truck race. I since I used to work the trucks, I like the trucks. I like to watch them because of the stuff they can do in those trucks. And I'm not sure. I can't remember that lead announcer's name on the truck series now. But if he calls them cars one more time, I'm not going to watch the race anymore.
Is it? It's not the guy who has the real funny name, is it?
That's a guy that sounds like Rick Allen. He could do a voiceover for Rick.
Okay. Well, it's obviously not Rick anymore because Rick does the NBC, NBC set, and he used to be with ESPN, who had the Truck Series years before.
Well, and he was with Fox and Speed Channel and everybody else. But
I'm trying to think of the guy's name because he does a bunch of. He called the Supercross races I watched on Saturday, and then the Arena Cross races that I watched last Sunday. They replayed it from when they were down in Tampa, and Gavin Faith won both of those main events.
Oh, okay.
I just can't think of his name, but anyways, it's not really here or there. But yeah, those truck races are really fun to watch because that was really quick. I mean, they did like 100 laps, 120 laps. I mean, it went by fast.
Yeah, something like that. 120, I think, sounds right.
Let's talk about the results from the Folds of Honor 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. From the top 10, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. getting into top 10. By the way, a little bit of a side note, Roush Fenway Racing actually showed up to this race. I was very surprised.
Yeah, and I mean, they showed Biffle one time bouncing off the wall and saving it, and of course they showed several drivers doing that.
I'm trying to find where Trevor Bain finished. Well, back in 22nd. Did he have a tire issue then? He must have had a tire issue because he was up in the top 10 at one point in time, and they were talking about how good of a run he was having.
Well, there was so much going on with all the green flag pit stops.
Was it during a green flag pit stop?
Yeah.
See, that just irritates me when they're sitting there. Well, it's a top. No, it's really not. It's a cycle through.
Right.
Cycle it through, and then we'll talk.
But some of the guys got off a little bit, because there were some guys stopping 34 laps. Some guys were stopping 38 to 40 laps.
Yeah.
So things were changing quite a bit, and that's where Johnson at the end of the race made that real early stop. I mean, he stopped 7 or 8 laps before anybody else, and that's what won him the race. Great call.
Brad Keselowski finished 9th. Chase Elliott bounces back after a disappointing Daytona and finishes 8th. Martin Truex Jr. 7th. Harvick 6th. Edwards finished 5th. Kurt Busch 4th. Kyle Busch 3rd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 2nd, and Jimmy Johnson finished 1st.
Big day for Hendrick. Nice
bounce back for Kyle Busch after winning the pole, failing post-qualifying inspection because his toe was out by just a little bit. I mean, it wasn't much at all, but it was enough to where NASCAR actually came out and said it was Joe Gibbs Racing and and Hendrick and Stuart Haas that said, we want you guys to start using lasers and really hone in on this stuff because we think people are cheating with that. And then it was Joe Gibbs Racing that got caught. Now, whether that's deemed as cheating or not, we don't know because Kyle ended up finishing 3rd place and had a 2nd place car, but I think he drove down into the corner a little bit too hard in 3 and 4 trying to win that race away from Jimmy Johnson. And he said it in his post-race that he drove down hard and was trying to not be in Jimmy's wake.
Yeah.
And so that splitter dug into the track.
Yep.
And I texted you and I said, wow, what a run from Earnhardt. Well, then I saw the Kyle Busch and he said, well, my car died off after that. And so Earnhardt just looked like he was on another level, just blowing right by Kyle Busch. But a good finish for all those guys. Earnhardt had a very good car. It was very promising to see. Rough days for Clint Boyer, AJ Allmendinger, Kyle Larson. A lot of people are hoping that this new aero package will really help out Kyle Larson, but it didn't help this weekend at Atlanta. Ryan Newman, who was in the top 10, I think actually running 12th, and he was that final caution.
Right, with the tire.
He must have blown a tire because all of a sudden he turns into the infield and then slides across the track and destroys his car. So he finishes 24th. Casey Kane had a rough day. Matt Kenseth, bad communication, ends up finishing 2 laps down because he got the black flag for, was it the tool on the...
Right. The gas man, when he's got the fuel can engaged to the car, he can be holding it, he can be on pit road, ready to plug it in, and he can do other things. He can make adjustments, but he cannot do anything when that can is engaged.
Yeah, that was just a simple split-second mistake where if he would have set the tool down on the deck lid and then plugged it in, they'd have been fine.
Or waited until he unplugged and then set it on. Either way.
But it's just one of those things that I was really impressed that pit road camera system that they have caught it. They're the ones that caught it.
Well, the people in the trailer, I'll guarantee you there's probably, I don't remember how many people they said, 6 or 8.
I think they said 20. No, maybe it's 20 cameras and 6 or 8 officials.
I'm pretty sure there's a camera over every car. They watched the front cars, and he was a front runner, so that's why his pit was being watched. If that would have been a car running 25th, it probably wouldn't have been caught.
Well, Fox, and again, I'm sorry, I don't want to quote Fox here, but they said that the official system flagged it and sent it to the official for review. And it was, because they show the actual replay on, and the way those 20 cameras work is that it looks at two different pit stalls at the same time. That's why they only need 20. And so it's covering two of them at the same time, and it's got little markers on the screen and everything. It's really kind of cool to watch. So it was just a little thing that when he popped that thing in, you could see his hand set that tool down on the deck lid, and it flagged it and sent it up to the official, and then they review it. And that's why they have 6 or 8 of them, is so that if there's a bunch of them that are coming in at once, they can handle it before time goes by too long.
Well, the other camera view they showed, which was almost from the pit stall right to the pit stall just in front of them, camera view down that way. That one showed it clear as day.
I think that was a Fox camera. It had to have been a Fox camera.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, but I just happened to be there at the right place, right time for that one.
Jimmy Johnson gets his 76th win on his career.
76, tied Dale Earnhardt, 7th place all time.
That's not surprising at all. Very, very good stuff there.
Gave a tribute to Earnhardt, threw a 3-up.
And I feel bad for Jimmy because it almost seems like Kelly Earnhardt, Dale Jr.'s sister, and Dale Jr., and Rick Hendrick, and Richard Childress all had to say something in order for NASCAR fans to accept that Jimmy tied at 76 with such an iconic person. But if you can hate him if you want to, but he's not 76 wins into his career because he cheated every race or because he has the best crew chief.
Well,
he's a dang talented driver, But congratulations to him. And he punches his ticket to the chase. He's got 1 win on the season. Him and Denny Hamlin are both in it now, as long as we don't have a bunch of people that win and they got to go off of numbers of points.
Those are 2 guys you expected to be in anyway.
Yeah, he's going to win a couple of more in the next coming weeks. And so a tough day for Kevin Harvick. I think he had one of the best cars. I think Matt Kenseth had a great car, but just that tough thing on pit road. And we need to finish our thought on that. So he ends up getting the officialing system finds him, and then his name Jason Ratcliffe is his crew chief, is arguing with the official while Matt's putting up laps, and then the flagman is black flagging him. So after a couple of laps, he gives him the black flag with the white stripes, which means we're not scoring you anymore. And Matt calls in and says, "Hey, what's going on down here?" And he goes, "Hang on, we're trying to resolve it." And he's like, "Well, I'm not getting scored anymore." So he ends up going a whole lap down, or going a lap around without accounting, and then he comes down pit road and goes another lap. So he goes 2 laps down and was never able to recover. Was it odd to you to have an Atlanta race like that with as much tire wear and not very many cautions?
Well, there were not very many cautions because the people were aware of the tire wear.
So they were playing a little bit easier?
Exactly. I mean, I think some of the setups were just a little bit more conservative, and they were going to go ahead, and everybody started short pitting. They never ran their 50 laps like they could run on fuel.
Close. As soon as somebody came down, it was a free for all. I like how. I can't remember how somebody put it, but I think it was DW said, as soon as that one car comes, it's an epidemic. No, it was Larry. It was
Larry Mack. Probably.
Yeah, Larry Mack said, he goes, it's an epidemic. They all get the disease and they all start coming down. And I get that Larry voice. I do like Larry Mack. I miss him in the booth.
Oh, he's, like I said, he's one of the ones that, usually when he says something, you can understand what he's talking about, and it makes sense.
Right. All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. Turn number 2. It's time to talk with Tom Lathen of the
Lathen.
It's habit now. I even have it written down phonetically, so I say Lathen, but it's still Latham to me. It's going to take a while. From the Nebraska Auto Racing Hall of Fame, he'll join us to talk about the event they've got coming up in a couple of weeks. Rico Abreu in turn number 3, and Pick'em Tips in turn number 4. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway, and I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah, real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Hi, this is Rusty Wallace at the Iowa Speedway, and I'm with ESPN, as everybody knows, and you're listening to the front stretch.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 2, high, wide, and handsome. We are joined on the phone now by a Nebraska Auto Racing Hall of Fame. Are you a board member or a director? I couldn't remember what your title was,
He's a
Tom.
member.
Well, I am an inductee and also now a member of the board.
Oh, well, congratulations on both inductee-ship, whatever that word would be, and your membership. So I completely screwed that all up. But anyways, let's roll on. Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing great. Good to talk to you guys again.
Well, it's great to have you back on the show. We had you on a couple of months ago to talk about your the Hall of Fame ceremony, and so now you guys got a big event coming up at the end of March, right?
Yes, the Central Nebraska Racers reunion is coming up the last weekend in March, the 26th, and really looking forward to a great night. Ken Schrader is going to come in and be our featured speaker, and should just be a great night.
So have you etched out about 16 hours for him to talk then?
Well, I don't know. We've certainly given Ken a good portion of the evening, but we just have a lot of other great things going on. Everything gets started at 5. We're going to have a social hour at 5, and a great meal at 6 o'clock. Chances are a restaurant from York is going to come in and cater the meal for us, and they're just going to do a fabulous job for us. And we've got a couple of panels that I think are really going to be great. I know a lot of the reunions. I know when Playland had a reunion here a year or so ago, they had a racers panel. I think there was one for a Sunset reunion here a few years ago as well. And
yeah, we actually that was us that did both of those.
Yeah, so we've decided to do the same thing. I just think that's a great idea, and I've seen the one that they do at the Knoxville Late Model Nationals, and I just thought that one went off just extremely well. And so what we've done, we're trying to highlight drivers from the past. Really some of the guys that were racing in the 60s and 70s. Obviously, we're starting to lose some of those guys, and we just felt like it was very important to get those guys up front and let people ask them some questions. So what we've done back in the late 60s and early 70s, there were actually 2 different classes that raced out in central Nebraska. There was what they referred to as the stock division, which was originally a combination of full-bodied late 1950s Chevrolets and Fords, and also included in that class were 32, 34, 36 Chevrolet and Ford coupes. If you ran a coupe, you had to run a 6-cylinder engine. You also could run a flathead V8, but if you ran one of the full-body cars, you could run a small block Chevrolet V8 or a small block Ford V8. And so we put together a great group of guys who originally ran in that class. A couple of Nebraska Auto Racing Hall of Fame members, Kent Tucker and Al Humphrey, are going to be in that group. And then also Craig Lockhart, who raced out of Red Cloud, is going to be in that group, as well as Dick Schwieger. Dick was from Grand Island, and Dick ran one of those coupes with a straight 6-cylinder engine in it, and they will be the 4 on that stock division panel. And then the second panel, or the other portion of the panel, will be 4 guys that ran in what used to be called the modified division. They were basically super modifieds that they were carbureted, and they had to run a transmission out there, so they didn't run in and out boxes. So basically, it was a super modified with a few additional restrictions. And then, of course, that class a few years down the road, once we got into the early 70s, kind of changed into the sprint car class out there. And we've got a great group of guys who are going to be in that panel. Jim Ketch, who ran at Midwest and ran with the IMCA sprint car circuit for a number of years. Started out in a modified in central Nebraska. He'll be on that panel, along with Don Wyrick. Don is from Norfolk and was inducted into the Nebraska Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. And then a couple of older guys that I think are going to be a lot of fun. Lynn Grable and Jerry Bell, those guys were modified and sprint car drivers back in the 60s and early to mid-70s. So going to have a great panel of drivers. I'll probably get the discussion started with a couple of questions, and then we're going to send it out to the audience and let them ask some questions.
What do you got going for tickets for this event, Tom?
Well, the tickets sell for $22, and that includes, like I say, just an absolutely fabulous meal. It's kind of interesting how this thing has happened, Dirk. When we first started planning this thing, and I know you're a member of my Facebook page, Central Nebraska Dirt Track Racing Memories, and that's how the whole thing started, was on the Facebook page. We started discussing, wouldn't it be neat if we could put together a reunion out there, and initially we were going to be in a building at the State Fair Complex, actually the Bosselman Conference Center out there, which holds a little over 300. And we thought, that'll be plenty enough space. And when we released the tickets on the 15th of December, we sold out in 2 days. And so we had to start looking for other facilities, and went back to the Fairgrounds Complex, and they put us in another building that was going to give us seating for about 550. So we released another couple hundred tickets, and those sold out in a couple of days. And so now we're actually in the largest building they have out there, which is the Pinnacle Expo building. And we've right as of today, we've sold a little over 1,000 tickets. I think we're at about 1,050. But there still are tickets available if people would like to come and join us. That's a huge building, and we have room for more people if other people would like to come.
Wow, I didn't know if you were going to have to split it over 2 days or what you were going to end up doing, but it sounds like you got it all handled.
Yeah, we were able to get it handled, and we've got. I think one of the really neat things about it, Dirk, we've got a number of old race cars that we're going to have on display, and that's one of the neat things about that expo building. Initially, we were going to park the old race cars outside the front door, and late March, you never know. I mean, it could be 40 degrees, it could be 70 degrees, you just don't know. But in the expo building, it's going to be large enough for we'll be able to have those race cars inside. And we've got about a dozen old race cars that are going to be on display. One of them is going to be one of the original old coupes that Wilbur Hecky drove out there. John Davison was the owner, and that car has been restored. And that's going to be on display. One of Jim Ketch's fuel-injected sprinters that he ran at the Knoxville Late Model Nationals in the mid-'70s is going to be there. I'm trying to think. Dean Ward, who is another Nebraska Hall of Fame inductee, drove midgets for Terry Platt out of Hastings for a number of years, and the last midget that Dean drove, I think 1980 was the last year that Dean drove. That car is going to be on display. We've got an old Ford Coupe that Ray Sabata from over in Henderson drove, and that's kind of a unique one because when Ray quit driving, and I think his last year was 73 or 74, he just parked that race car in a barn, and that's where it sat. And so the car is all original. I mean, it's exactly the way it was. The last night he took a checkered flag in that car, and that will be on display. And another unique car that we're going to have, there was a car that raced out of Hastings. There were actually three guys that drove it. One was Vale Farmer, another was Tom Kubeka, and the other one was Marmion Edwards. It's a 1957 Ford, which Tom Kubeka's son, Tom Kubeka Jr., restored here a couple of years ago, and it's just an absolute beautiful car, and that's going to be on display as well. But like I say, the neat thing about that expo center is we've got enough room in that building that all of the cars are going to be on display. We're going to kind of have them around the outside edges of the building, and then, of course, the seating will be towards the center.
Well, that sounds really great, getting to see all those old cars. I went to that Racers Reunion in Pleasantville where they had a bunch of the old cars, and that's kind of cool for us younger guys. But
Yeah, really is. I think people are going to enjoy it, and I've been really fortunate, Dirk. A gentleman by the name of Chad Dolan, who lives out in Gibbon. He's an old racer himself, and really has a heart for these old race car drivers. With me living over in central Iowa, it's been pretty difficult for me to get real involved in the logistics of the thing. And Chad called me early on and said, "Gosh, what can I do to help make this thing happen?" And to be quite honest with you, Chad just kind of took the ball and ran with it. And I can't take any credit at all for what's happened. I'll tell you, Chad has just been a workhorse. He's put together a great group of volunteers that have sold advertising for us. Speedway Motors is going to be our title sponsor, and we couldn't, can't thank them enough. We've got just a tremendous list of silent auction items that are going to be on sale. And like I say, Chad and his group of volunteers out there have just done a great job, and it's going to be quite a night.
Okay, Tom, before we let you go here, what do we have to do to get these fans of ours some tickets?
Well, probably the best way is for them to go to our website, which is CentralNebraskaRacersReunion.com. And all of the information is on the website. There's phone numbers. I believe they can actually even purchase them on the website. Otherwise, if your listeners just go to that Facebook page, which is Central Nebraska Dirt Track Racing Memories, there's all kinds of information on that Facebook as well. But my recommendation would just be going to the website, which is CentralNebraskaRacersReunion.com.
Tom Lathen of the Nebraska Auto Racers Hall of Fame and of the Central Nebraska Racers Reunion. Thanks a lot, Tom. Appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks both of you guys. I appreciate you getting us on the air so we can tell people about this event.
Hey,
Happy to help.
Sounds like you're going to have a great turnout.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
March 26th is the date. It's at the Pinnacle Bank Expo Center. Begins at 5 o'clock. Social hour begins at 5 o'clock. Dinner starts at 5:55. Tom said meals were included in that $22 ticket. You can get more information about the event at CentralNebraskaRacersReunion.com. We'll make sure to share the page on our Facebook page so that way you guys can find it.
And I also know on that Facebook page, they do have a couple hotels listed where they've got some deals sent up since they figure it'll be a late Saturday night before you get out of there.
There's probably going to be a beer or two drank. Play it safe, folks. Let's plan ahead. We'll be back. Rico, Abreu, just around the corner. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the Front Stretch.
This is Carl Edwards, driver of the number 19 Aris Toyota, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to The Front Stretch. Heading into turn number 3, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. Tickets for the Go Bowling 400 Saturday night, May 7th race are available now. Call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. Again, that's 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. That is the Saturday night, May 7th, Go Bowling 400 night race. And, Guy, we're going to see at Kansas Speedway in, are you due that weekend, too? Is that the 6th you're going to race on Friday?
Yes, sir.
That's Rico Abreu you're hearing there, former World of Outlaw driver. He is a 2-time Chili Bowl champion. Went and got yourself another win down in the Chili Bowl. You're a former K&N East Series driver. We talked to you over at Iowa Speedway. And how you been doing, man? We haven't talked to you in a while.
Good, man. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy doing these kinds of things, and I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're quite the rising star, and it seems like just next time I turn around, you've won a couple of more races. You've picked up a new deal to go and race in a bigger series. So it's got to be exciting for you over the last year and a half how fast your stock's been raising.
Yes, it's been very exciting. It's been happening so fast. But I'm getting a great opportunity this year with Thor Sport Racing. gonna, obviously ran the last two Camping World Truck Series races for Thor Sport and my Stay Flight Auto Glass Toyota Tundra.
Are you racing a full season for Thor Sports?
Yes, the full Camping World Truck Series season.
Okay.
You got a ton of experience that you can lean on with old Matt Crafton over there.
No, Matt's been huge help for me, just mostly for these tracks that I've never seen, and just getting me up to speed quicker. And he was very smart when it comes to, making sure the trucks are set up right. And he's someone I really feed off of lately.
What's that draft like at Daytona the first time?
It's pretty wild. It's the first 10 laps of the race. It was really intense. I got up there to 10th right away, and then I just tried to stay there at the end, and then at the end, got into a little trouble in one of the crashes. But the drafting there, it's crazy how much more speed you pick up, with a pack of trucks compared to out there by yourself.
Was it a real big surprise? Because, you're obviously coming from the sprint world where drafting's not really a big thing, although aero is a big thing. But then you went over to the K&N series where there may have been maybe a race or two where drafting came into an effect. So was that a big surprise?
Yeah, it was. The biggest thing was just the difference between, being with a truck in front of you or behind you and being by yourself. And then just staying in line and making sure your engine doesn't overheat because there's no airflow there. Once you stack up behind a guy, and I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to getting to Talladega. And there's obviously some things that I can change there on the speedway racing that I wasn't aware of, but now I am with. Just the side drafting and knowing, your surroundings with the trucks in front of you and following that yellow line around the bottom. Just some little things that I worked on, and that could help me, for Talladega.
Did you have any trouble adjusting to the closing speeds when you start sucking up behind somebody? It's like you're falling out of an airplane.
Yeah, it is definitely, something I had to learn and trust in the truck and how the aero package works there. With how big the front of our trucks are, you suck up really fast, but then it really stalls out when you get right behind a truck before you bump them. So that's one of the things I had to trust, and I got more and more. I got better and better as the race went on. Knowing that for how fast you suck up, that you're not going to nearly hit them as hard as it feels, just because the truck kind of stalls out that last quarter length of their rear bumper.
Did you get much experience, much kind of practice behind the wheel of a truck before you showed up to Daytona for Speed Weeks?
Well, I ran Phoenix and Homestead at the end of the year last year for STS Motorsports, so I had somewhat of a feeling on how the trucks are going to handle, but I felt like the last two races, my truck has been very good, and those guys just leave it up to me to do my job, and there's a lot of little things that I got to work on, with working on pit road and just getting out in and out of pit road good where you can gain spots, and then just positioning yourself good on restarts where you don't get put in a bad spot and end up getting passed by a few trucks.
So with your full schedule in the truck series, what other stuff are you going to try and patch in between? Because I know you guys are done for a few weeks until Martinsville shows up. You going to try and go out and climb in a sprint car here and there, or what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, I'm going to get to run a few sprint car races. Don't want to get too overloaded on the sprint car schedule, but I'm just going to try to fill in the weekends where I'm not sitting, not doing anything. I have a full sprint car team at home that is more than capable of winning races, and I feel like as long as I'm out there racing, I can keep active and not get and keep myself out of trouble.
Started saving your money for your Learjet so you can get back and forth?
No, I don't. I just been flying with Southwest Airlines lately.
First class though, right? Do you at least get first class treatment?
Well, they don't have first class, but I get to board
that's
pretty
right.
early just with all the miles I have.
Oh, I bet so. So you came back in Atlanta last weekend and you finished 11th. A good top 10 finish on your, knowing your fourth Truck Series race in your second of the season. Are you pretty comfortable with the way that race rolled out?
Yeah, I had some moments there where I got up to eighth, I think, and was definitely had a lot of speed. But towards the end of the race, we just kept working on our truck and getting it. It was a little tight, and then we got it too free, and then we went back to too tight there at the end. But I think Atlanta is one of the toughest tracks just because the tires would fall off so bad. But the first few runs of the race was really good. I got to move up and run up on the high side of 1 and 2, and then down in the bottom in 3 and 4, and just try to keep my momentum up. I just really struggled with the race pace, and when I caught slower trucks that I didn't slow down. I slowed down to their speed when I needed to move on by them and get to the next truck. So just those little things that I've been working on that I need to work on for later on in the season when it counts.
Dirk talked about in the beginning of the interview that with being at Thor Sports Racing in the 98 truck, your teammates with Matt Crafton. So Matt's obviously a go-to person for you. So is there another guy that's in the pits that you can kind of lean on for some experience? And I know you're good friends with Kyle Larson, so you're able to work with him a little bit?
A little bit. I bounce a few questions here and there, but he doesn't get to run the trucks as much as Crafton does. So Crafton, I feel like Crafton has a lot of experience in the truck series, and he knows every little detail about them and what things happen and what adjustments change things on the truck. So I've tried to just keep it to one guy and not get too confused on asking everybody on what they think or what to do. So as long as Crafton keeps giving me his secrets, I'll keep going to him for advice.
It's a good wealth of knowledge.
Well, you guys probably do like most of the teams do. You guys probably do a debrief as a whole team, don't you, to where you can kind of pick his brain as you're going through that?
Yeah, definitely we do that. And then lately, or the last two races, they go off of truck points. So from the previous year, so our trucks are pitted right next to each other. So I go back and forth to the trailers and just try to bounce all these questions I have off of them. I have a little notebook that I write all my notes down in, and then anytime I need an answer, I can go over there and ask him or his crew chief. That they're more than willing to help us, and that's one thing about having that advantage of being at Thor Sport Racing is having those two, Matt and Junior, to work off of.
Yeah, I think this is Matt's 18th year, if my math's correct. My very first truck race that I ever worked as an official, I actually had Matt on pit road his rookie year. And that was in '99.
Cool.
And
yeah.
So I've got to know him quite well in the years I was doing that. And I think he's a very intelligent driver. And he's matured a lot, and I think that's what resulted in his 2 championships. I mean, he's the first repeat champion. So, I mean, you're getting a lot of good information off that guy.
Yes, he's had a lot of success the last 3 years. I've been telling him he's probably in the prime of his life right now, and it's pretty cool to be a part of Duke Thorson's team and have Matt Crafton right there by my side.
And I can tell you that team likes to have fun, too.
No, definitely. They're all about having fun, but when they need to get serious, they get serious, and that's where things count.
I was telling Dan about a bumper car incident in Kansas City about 10 or 12 years ago with those guys in their rental vans.
Uh-oh.
We're talking with Rico Abreu, driver of the number 98 Thor Sports Racing truck and the Toyota Tundra truck in the Camping World Truck Series. Rico, your off-season saw you found victory lane once again in the Chili Bowl. That race is just too easy for you, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know about easy. I think I just positioned myself really well there the last 2 years. The last 3 years I have, and didn't win in 2013, but 14, but 15 and 16, and felt like I had a shot at actually winning it in 2014. I just made a mistake there at the end of the race.
Hey, with that,
but I've just
go ahead, Rico.
I've just put myself in really good spots and stayed out of trouble, and that's what you have to do to win that race, I feel.
With the way you celebrated that with the spinning wheelie, if you'd like a new agent, I'm pretty sure I can land you a nice ride in the monster trucks.
That would be awesome. I would definitely try to do that.
That was one. Did you think at any point in time you were going to lose control of that car and it was going to flip?
No. Well, I thought there at the end it was. But,
it looked like it.
For how excited I was, I just wanted to show the fans, my emotions because, that place is very special to me and it'll always have a special place in my heart. But the fans there is what makes that event so great. And I just want to show that I'm giving back to them as well. And, Dan, you just won the damn Chili Bowl, so you might as well do something crazy at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you look like you about lost your footing and were just about to kill yourself when you jumped into Brian's arms.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
I was kind of poking around doing some research on you, trying to figure out some questions for today, and I came across, I think if I'm not mistaken, are you dating a girl named with the last name Droude?
Yep, I sure am.
And is that Don Droude Jr.'s daughter?
Yep, it sure is.
No kidding.
It sure is, yeah.
I tell you got a heck of a girl on your hands there.
Yeah, Megan and I, we've been dating for 3 years now, and she's a big part of my life.
It's about time to make her an honest woman, don't you think, Rico?
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully soon.
So that means you're visiting the Cornhusker State on a regular basis?
Not too much. She's from Lincoln, so every now and then I get to go there and hang out. And man, that stadium there is beautiful.
Memorial
downtown Lincoln. And,
yep.
It's always cool to drive by it.
I've got season tickets, but the next time you come up this way, you need to give us a holler and come on up to Omaha, and we'll buy you dinner.
All right, that sounds good.
Well, hey, I got an idea for you.
Guys to it.
Okay.
I got an idea for you. So the World of Outlaws are going to be at I-80 Speedway, which is just down the road from Lincoln on June 22nd. And you're going to be at Iowa Speedway the Saturday before. So why not head over to Lincoln, spend some time with the family, and then come down to I-80 Speedway on a Wednesday night and do some sprint car racing?
I might be able to do that.
We'd love to see you at I-80 Speedway.
Yeah, no, that's one track I do want to race at.
Hey, I got a couple more questions for you. I know we're taking quite a bit of time, but the Truck Series is headed back to Eldora this year for the Mud Summer Classic. Do you feel like your expectations are pretty high with your background to be able to win that race?
I'm not, I'm really not sure, but I'm excited for that race. I'm excited to get, I've never drove like a vehicle. I've driven obviously sprint cars and midgets on dirt tracks, but I've never drove like a 300 or 3,000 pound car on a dirt track. So I'm a little excited for it, and I think obviously have a little bit more experience than some of the guys in the Truck Series on dirt. So, but I know Christopher is going to be tough to beat there. Bobby Pierce is going to be tough to beat there. And Crafton this year, he's been getting in a bunch of dirt modified races. So he's obviously gearing up for that race this year because it's a full Truck Series points race, and that race can make or break your championship shot. So I know a lot of guys are trying to get more on dirt for that race.
Extra braces on the right side for when you ride the wall around late in the race.
Yeah, I know. I got in trouble for riding the wall last weekend, so I'll have to be careful there.
Yeah, a little bit different scenario when you jump the berm in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
I got one last question for you, Rico. I kind of like this question just recently. If you were the Zeus, the god of racing, and you could change anything about racing, forget about physics, forget about the laws of gravity and all that stuff. If you could change one thing about racing, whether it be asphalt racing, NASCAR racing, or dirt racing, what would it be?
I think I would work something out to get kids to the races and get them in free, or drive that. Something where you would drive that youth to the races, because I feel like racing struggles a little bit driving that youth to the racetrack, and I know a few dirt tracks do it every now and then. Get kids do something to get kids to the races, and that's the future of our sport. And I think track promoters and people out there that are looking to make their track better, to help their track out. That's something I've really thought about lately is what racetracks could do to get kids to the races because it's all that middle-aged group, older people, and I feel like there's not that many kids there. So if I could do something to help that, I would be more than happy to, and it'd be something big.
Yeah, I mean, most of your weekly tracks usually run a deal like kids 5 or 6 and under are free, and up to like 12 years older, half price, $5 or whatever. But you still got to get the kids there, and the tracks are becoming so rural. I mean, for us, it's, 40 minutes away to I-80 Speedway. It's not right in town like Sunset used to be.
Yeah. No, exactly.
We've been talking with Rico Abreu, driver of the number 98 Thor Sports Racing Toyota Tundra with the Camping World Truck Series. Rico, we always do appreciate your time. We can't wait to see you back on the track at Martinsville in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, guys.
I got to tell you, we got to wrap it up and go into turn 4, but that really impressed me. It's only the second time we've asked that question. And the other time, I don't blame the guy at all, but he said he would change the cost of tires, which makes total sense because I think the cost of tires and the cost of doing this is what's killing this sport. But for Rico to look outside and say, we got to get the kids more involved, that's forward thinking.
Yep.
And that really impresses me. I really like that guy.
That's something we'd talked about before when they had the SpongeBob SquarePants 400 down in Kansas. We were, talking about great marketing, trying to get the kids out there.
And that's a good way to transition and say, don't forget to get your tickets today for the Go Bowling 400 Saturday night, May 7th race at Kansas Speedway. Tickets are available, again, 866-460-RACE or visit kansasspeedway.com.
And since you're going down on the 7th, you might as well go Friday the 6th and watch Rico.
Absolutely. We'd love to see him in Victory Lane at Kansas Speedway. That'd be very special. Awesome. And hopefully we can sway him to come down to I-80 Speedway on June 22nd so you can get up close and personal with one of the young up-and-coming drivers in this sport. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back, turn number 4. We'll wrap her all up. We appreciate you hanging around. This is The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's me, Kansas Speedway. And I'm sorry. Sorry for the barehanded slap of adrenaline and the burnt rubber aftertaste. Sorry other tailgates will seem lame. Yeah. Real sorry about that.
It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series GoBowling.com 400. Saturday night, May 7th, Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom.
Tickets at KansasSpeedway.com.
You're welcome.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
This is Austin Dillon, driver number 3, Dow Chevrolet, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to The Front Stretch. Rolling into turn number 4, just about ready to wrap this baby up. All the action for today's race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. The Cobalt 400 kicks off on Fox and PRN at 1:30, that's Central Time, and then the green flag action a little bit after 2:30, and that's on the main Fox channel. We don't switch to Fox Sports now, Fox Sports Live, for a couple more weeks, so make sure you plan accordingly, and you can head down to Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the Front Stretch, and watch all of the action for the Cobalt 400 today at Las Vegas. So big news earlier this week. I didn't see it coming, although I thought maybe we'd see some penalties. I didn't expect this. Apparently the 78, I got to get my information lined up again, but the 78 failed inspection. I thought it said post-race, but I got a correction that, it was a pre-race for a roof flap. Same thing they got hit for at Daytona. So Cole Pern, crew chief of the 78's been suspended for a race because he's still on probation from the Daytona situation. And the team was fined $15,000 and lost $50,000, lost 10 driver championship points and 10 championship owner points.
15 points.
Thank you for getting all my information correct for me. I keep getting the Richard Childress Racing information mixed up. They got fined $15,000 per crew chief. All 3 of their teams were hit with penalties because of
the same thing.
Parts that were confiscated. Was it a roof flap?
No,
I didn't see what part it was.
It was body braces. Okay. And my guess is the braces have to be basically one piece, and they used to make them adjustable. Mm-hmm. They just had a jam nut and they could move them, to fit the templates. NASCAR wants them now non-adjustable, which means if they had the old jam nut style braces, they've got to weld them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of times they won't weld them until they get to the track. But evidently these were braces that they confiscated, which means they were probably extra braces that weren't allowed.
So the 3, 27, and 31, all of their crew chiefs were placed on NASCAR probation until December 31st. All 3 teams received $15,000 fines, and all 3 teams lost 10 points, both owner points and championship driver points.
Now, the one thing that I didn't see in the article is what happened to Kyle Busch after qualifying.
Well, nothing. See, that's what kind of... See, I sent out that email to the Pick'ems contestants and said, buyers beware, if you take Kyle Busch, you could be facing the same points penalty, and we'll get into what I'm talking about in a minute. But after that, they were talking with the competition director, and it's a new one this year. His name's escaping me. I do apologize. But he said that it was something that was off enough to where they feel like disallowing his qualifying time was penalty enough, and they didn't expect any points, penalties, or monetary fines later in the week, which is what we saw.
Yep.
So that's what happened with Kyle Busch. He ends up getting off scot-free. Anybody that took the 78, the 31, the 27, or the 3 at Atlanta for the Pick'ems contest is going to receive those same point deductions. That's kind of a part of the penalty. And I hate to use this term because I always give the drivers a benefit of the doubt. But if you pick a driver that is deemed cheater or cheating and is fined for it, then you're going to receive that same point. So they received a championship driver points penalty. Again, the 78 got 15 points. The 3, 27, and 31 got 10 points, so we'll see those points deducted as the point standings have been
If anybody
released.
had the 47, I think A.J. Allmendinger and the 95 were also involved in those 10-point penalties, too, if anybody took them.
Today for Las Vegas Motor Speedway, if you're a part of the Pick'ems contest, I sent out the stat pack. Dirk, who are you thinking about today?
I'm thinking about the Toyotas with, Busch and Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth even, because I think he kind of wants to redeem himself after his black flag incident last week.
I think I like Harvick, but I want to save Harvick for Phoenix, which is going to be coming up next weekend. I think that's a smart pick. Depending on what he did in practice and starting, maybe it's a good idea to use him now and not wait, because who knows, maybe he wrecks out at Phoenix and all of a sudden has a bad finish. That's probably not going to happen, but it could. But if you want to see our picks, you could just check us out on the Facebook page. The Front Stretch is the Facebook page. Next weekend, we will be joined by Dusty Reynolds, who is the owner of Race Note. It's an Omaha-based electronic company that released an app that you, as a dirt track driver, can purchase. Well, Chevy purchased the app for their NASCAR Sprint Cup drivers. So we'll talk to Dusty about what all that means. We're also going to talk with Anthony Ainsley about the spring thaw. So we got a lot coming up in the next couple of weeks for the Front Stretch. We do appreciate you joining us. Sorry, Turn Forward was short again, but we had a great interview with Rico Abreu, and we want to say thanks to Tom Lathen for joining us also. Dirk, have a great weekend, bud.
I hope so.
We'll do it again next weekend. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.